Like you mentioned, I'm from Dartmouth College. Those of you who don't know the college, we're the smallest of the Ivy League colleges. We have just over 6,000 students. So, as one of our famous alumni once said, it's a small college, yet there are those who love it. And that's from Daniel Webster. We're also one of the oldest colleges in the country, founded in 1767. So that's why I work there. I figure they're not going anywhere. We're in Hanover, New Hampshire, and if any of you have never been up there, it's a beautiful area of the country. Apparently, people from Dallas would die if they were up there. At least some of our students playing in the snow, because that's what they do in it. They don't cancel classes or anything else for it. So a little bit about the way we do computing at Dartmouth College. We have a centralized computing services. At the main campus, we provide all the infrastructure support and any campus-wide systems like Exchange, our email systems, large database systems like Oracle, the SQL clusters, that kind of thing. We do have some tenant professional schools that they have kind of a symbiotic relationship with us. We cover a lot of the technologies that they don't supply themselves. But they do have some specialists that do their individual needs. That would be the libraries, the Tuck School of Business, and the Geisel School of Medicine, named after one of our famous alumni, Theodore Geisel, who of course is Dr. Seuss. So we have the Dr. Seuss School of Medicine at Dartmouth. Myself, I'm an applications administrator. I work for Central Computing. I'd manage not only Uniprint, but the MS Exchange environment, MySQL, Apache, all our IIS services, and SQL. So for us, we don't have a team that manages Uniprint. We have about 1/3 of my time. Previous to that, I actually am a U.S. Army veteran. Been all over the world with them. Served another 6 years with the U.S. Air Force Reserves. And got a lot of experience with print systems there. They have a PKI authenticated print system. Integrates with the MFPs much in the same way that the Pharos system does. It just loads into the same APIs. So when I joined Dartmouth, I was a good fit, whether I wanted to be or not. So a little bit about us before we started with the MobilePrint upgrade. We were running a Uniprint 8.2, which in and of itself is not compatible with MobilePrint. At least I believe that's a true statement. Pharos guys can correct me if I'm wrong. We use Uniprint primarily for our student population, as well as any visitors to the college. We have 51 print devices across our campus. We run through a single queue, which makes installation of the client a whole lot easier. And all of our devices use a single driver. We actually only have 2 of the Ricoh MFP devices, but like I said, we can use the same driver across our entire campus. We also integrate our Uniprint system with our Diebold billing system, and we pull all our user accounts from our LDAP directory system. So, how we kind of arrived at the need for MobilePrint was we have kind of a regular feedback with our user community. We use that to set our direction, and that feedback happens with we have a student IT council. Every graduating class year elects a few members, and they collect the feedback of the student populace, and then we meet with them once a semester to hear what they have to say. What are we missing? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And one of the biggest things that we saw from not only them, but our technologists at the libraries, as well as we have data stewards, very similar to our student IT council. They're employees in different staff areas that bring back to us what do we need to provide better to them. And we kind of arrived at I lost a slide. We arrived at something we call the Dartmouth Mobile Initiative, where one of the big driving factors behind all our technology is we want to be able to logically work on a mobile platform wherever possible, wherever it makes sense. And printing is a huge one for our students, where what we're seeing in trends is that students aren't carrying around a laptop anymore. They'd much rather have an iPad. Some of them are just walking around with phones, and to ask them to install a client and carry around a laptop is not. They're not going to print at all in that case. So when we first identified the need for this, we were actually unaware that Pharos had a mobile print option. So we kind of went down the path of in-house development. And as I mentioned before, we're a pretty small school. Subsequently, our IT staff is pretty small. So we only have about 2 or 3 developers in the entirety of IT. And trying to occupy their time with, we were trying a PHP cups Unix solution to try to make mobile print on our own. Didn't go real far. We couldn't make anything that worked the way we would want it to, nor did it look as professional as our student population kind of demands of us. We looked for third-party solutions for mobile printing. There were some out there, but once we became aware of the Pharos MobilePrint solution, it only made sense because we've used Pharos for, I want to say, approaching 10 years now. It's longer than my tenure at Dartmouth, certainly. So once we arrived at, we wanted to move forward with mobile print, we had to kind of come up with our strategy as how we were going to do this. The folks at Pharos were kind enough to give us an evaluation license for mobile print, and we are a VM environment, so we stood up some servers pretty rapidly, installed the software, built our mobile print server with the help of a Pharos employee remotely. His name escapes me right now. I think it might have been Craig, but if you've not used Pharos support remotely, they're pretty helpful. No need to have somebody drive up to your campus for the most part. One of the first tasks we identified is we needed to upgrade to 8.3. Again, like I said, this is something that we did with the support of the folks there at Pharos. So once we got through our initial testing phase, it takes us about 3 months to do that. We build out the servers, we give to testing groups that we have within our student help desk teams. We create pilot users. We moved on to our implementation phase. And for us, the big win that we came up with testing is the lack of interruption of service to install this in production. If you're already running 8.3, really, apart from restarting services on the primary Pharos server, you really have no interruption whatsoever at all. So we were able to install this mid-semester, which I assume for most of you have the same reluctance to ever install anything while students are in classes, but we felt so comfortable after testing this that we weren't going to have any issues that we went ahead and did it. For us, one of the key metrics that we wanted to obtain from all of this is what is the user impact on this, how much are users adopting this, how much benefit are we going to reap from this. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but so I assume everybody has their own process for how you're going to go ahead and do an installation. For us, we have a campus-wide notification system that we attempt to get our students to read when we're going to roll out new services. This whole implementation took us not 2 hours to install. So the adoption rates, about 90 days after we took a step back and evaluated, and one of the things that we hit on, and I think it was brought up the other day, is it's difficult to tell just from Pharos reports how many jobs are coming in through your mobile print versus how many jobs are coming in through your standard print queues. And what we found is because we have control of our Exchange environment, that we're able to monitor it there by looking for unique addresses coming in, repeat addresses coming in. So that is, if you need to be able to report on adoption rate, probably your best bet at this point, or at least it's certainly the best solution that we found. I don't know about subsequent releases of mobile print or Pharos reports if it's going to be able to flesh that out any further. Um, so apart from adoption rates, we saw a huge reduction in support requests, and this is mostly because of the, I think, under-advertised feature of MobilePrint, that is web release. It kind of alleviated the ability or the need for us to touch, especially visitor machines, which for liability reasons we don't like to do, period, ever, because you can simply log on to a website, upload your jobs, and then they're in the queue. You can use our standard release stations or release right there from the web release thing. And it kind of, if anybody's not seen it, it looks very much like what they showed this morning. So we also saw an expanded functionality. Another major support request that we used to get was, we have a large computer science program at Dartmouth. We have a lot of Linux users, and there hadn't been really a good way for Linux users to submit jobs into the Pharos system. I mean, there were ways of doing it by setting up cups printers, but it was hard for us to document real consistent ways of doing that because of the variation in Linux distributions. There's probably as many distributions as there are people in this room, and CS students all want to use a very unique one no one's ever heard of. So that was an unanticipated win for us, was completely dropping off our support for installing a cups printer for Linux, which we had fairly good success with, but I mean, this is far preferable. If you can send an email, you can submit jobs into MobilePrint. So for us, in the first 90 days, in terms of evaluating our success through the exchange system, we had over 3,000 unique addresses, which, if you, given our student population of just over 6,000, that's a pretty substantial adoption rate, nearly 50%. You have to massage that a little bit because students can register as many email addresses as they want. So we see students registering their Gmail accounts, Yahoo accounts, that sort of thing, in addition to the campus account that we provide them. We also process almost 24,000 jobs through the system. Our annual output from Pharos is right around 817,000 jobs a year. So again, in a 90-day period, that's a pretty substantial amount of jobs for a new feature that we rolled out mid-semester, because we find the biggest time that we have the attention of our student population to be able to describe new features or describe changes in functionality is really only at the very beginning of the year when we have students in orientation, and honestly primarily at the beginning of their freshman year, because they don't come to orientation ever again after that. So even without having a really successful communication campaign, we had fairly high adoption rates. So here's some of the administrative savings that we saw. Previously, our student help desk and guest help desk that we have in our main library, almost 80% of the requests that we used to get in through there was requests for assistance setting up a Pharos client on a guest machine or an additional machine. And what we did is we put some posters outside of our help desk describing how to use the MobilePrint solution, and it completely eliminated the need to even do this. For guests, we don't even offer the ability to install the Pharos client any longer. We completely drive them towards the MobilePrint application. So that was created a 50% drop in our overall tickets regarding Pharos client help requests. I mean, we still see a few, mostly from our Mac users, because OS X likes to take stuff out of the automatic logon items like notify and pop up. So they're still out there, but I mean, this was a substantial reduction in our help desk calls. And again, the Linux usage, this is our solution for Linux and non-standard operating systems at this point. So I figured the bulk of my presentation would be questions, because I'm not really going to do a product demonstration, but most of you are familiar with MobilePrint. But we had a very successful rollout, no interruption of service to speak of when setting this up, high adoption rates afterwards, and this is something where we fight a PR battle with our students all the time in terms of keeping ourselves out of the student newspaper and computing for things that they're not pleased with. We actually had a rather glowing review of this as a feature that we rolled out. So couldn't be happier with the mobile print solution. It's definitely becoming a core offering for us, for our student population, and certainly our guest accounts. What we're doing right now is we build accounts, write them to physical magnetic cards that we then keep at our library that we allow patrons to purchase. As soon as we unrolled mobile print, all of our patrons could now also be mobile print users with no additional configuration. So if you're not using mobile print, I would suggest it is a huge win for your organization, and not only in terms of the administrative savings, but FaceTime with the students. It's not often that we get the opportunity to receive congratulations from the students. Hey, job well done. We appreciate this new feature, and this is one of the few that I've seen in my tenure at Dartmouth that we did get that kind of feedback.
Can you comment on what you've seen around document fidelity and issues with applications that are non-standard applications being submitted through mobile and treating that?
Sure. So in the mobile print configuration, you have the ability to specify what document types can come in. And you can configure messages that come back when you receive non-standard document types. So we really dialed it back to just a few formats that we wanted to support: PDFs, Office documents. The version that we're running also supports HTML, which, forgive me for not knowing the version we're running. I think we're 1.4 sounds right, 1.3. We had the initial version where it was simply just an email-based solution, and we've kept up with the upgrades on this because it is such a core offering for us. But you can certainly filter document types right in the interface. It's pretty intuitive. Any other questions?
So the total amount of administration time to install and configure this, you said was 2 hours?
Well, like I say, there's a little bit of lead time. We had to build a VM for the additional mobile processing server. But let's say in a VM environment, we use templates. That's negligible. But the actual install time was less than 2 hours for us. Of course, we ran it through and test. And in production, we were able to go even faster than that because we've done it once before. And the interruption, the key is the interruption to your production Uniprint servers is minimal.
Yeah, are you hosting Exchange on-site still?
We're hybrid at this point. So we run Office 365 in the cloud for the bulk of our users, and then our VIP users and certain designated staff departments, we run an on-premise Exchange system. The mobile print account, I think that's the best way to describe it, is actually a cloud account. When you configure it, you can use almost any email system. I don't think there's really any limitations at all. Yes?
What are you seeing in mobile print usage from off campus during evening hours or from the dorms during evening hours, or is it just actually during the daytime as an alternative to sitting down to a desktop hooked up to a network?
I don't really have good numbers on it. I can tell you that from our student population, the bulk of our printing actually happens after hours. We were able to determine that, and that was something we looked at in terms of when we wanted our outage window. The print by hour report that I think someone mentioned that they couldn't understand why you might use that. That's exactly why we use that. Like say our students don't keep normal hours. They don't wake up early for anything. They stay up extremely late all the time, so we always do all our work early in the morning.
What's your purge time on jobs?
We purge every 3 hours. Again, this is something that is communicated to our students during orientation. You can actually set the purge time for mobile print different from coming in through the pop-up client. We elected to keep it the same because the more uniform we can be, the easier it is for not only our students, but our first-tier support folks who they don't want to have to look at a matrix that, well, did the job come in here? We found keeping everything consistent right across the board was the easiest. And our students don't have an expectation like the other gentleman described, where you could submit Friday and on Monday still have it. They know that it won't be there anymore. Yes, sir.
Do you license all of your printers for that, or just strategic printers?
For
mobile print?
our entire environment can use mobile print. I'm not sure. Is it? I don't think it is a license per device.
Per device.
Product.
You're not site license.
Oh, okay. So we're on a site license, so that's. Well, I'm not familiar with that. Any other questions? Yes.
On the communications part of it, with 6,000 students, it may be a little bit different, but with the bigger colleges, to communicate out a change like mobile print can be difficult, and just user education of that. And some of the, maybe the lessons learned from you guys trying to roll this out, and did you guys hold like seminars for showing them how to use it, or was it a wiki page, or?
So because the existing functionality that the students came to experience with Pharos didn't change, we didn't put a lot of emphasis on that. What we did is we updated our documentation for student orientation so that they would be aware of the feature for the next academic year. But in terms of communicating anything other than outage, we have a system that we call Dart Pulse that everybody's dialed into. A system goes down, the page turns red and tells you what tragedy is occurring. We'll post planned outages on that as well. But communicating to the students expanded functionality isn't so much as, it's not a huge area of concern for us so much as we're taking something from you. So this is something that is spreading by word of mouth through the students, which that's actually the fastest way to get something across. We have a whole series of student employees, especially in our student help desk. And honestly, one of the best ways we've found to communicate is to plant the seed with them. And it's fast, especially on a campus the size of ours. Yes, sir.
It was mentioned in the Uniprint 9 presentation that they were going to integrate some of the administration functions in mobile print. Do you find it being bulky at all? Are there additional administration tasks with this separate mobile print?
There's not really much in the way of separate administration tasks, depending upon how well you have your Pharos database fleshed out. We already were importing things like user email addresses into our Pharos database from our LDAP server. So that meant the bulk of our students, at the very least if they were using their on-campus email account, didn't have to register. If you don't have that information in your database, I would suspect that would be a task that you'd have to account for. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Before mobile print, were you releasing jobs by username and password or by card? And then after, how does that change?
Okay, so we release secure release at all of our stations. We have the Omega devices or IMFPs. We release either by username and password or by swiping a magnetic card. A lot of that falls into the scripting that you have in your Pharos system. What we're doing essentially is we're looking for a string that appears at the beginning of a magnetic strip, and if it sees that, it drops out of the authentication loop and then sends that string to our LDAP server that contains that string and then resolves what user it is and releases it accordingly. So the experience in terms of releasing a job didn't change at all for us.
The email submission creates a potential lag between the job being submitted, making its way through your email system, and then into the print queue. Have you noticed any delays, or is there any impact on latency of the email submission method?
Well, initially we saw a lot of it has to do with your email system. A mobile print can really only be as good as your email system. If your client if your email system is only checking for new emails, once every 15 minutes, then you'll have a 15-minute delay. For us, our students are mostly emailing from our on-premise, or excuse me, our cloud email system to the MobilePrint account, which is also on that same Exchange server. So we're not seeing much delay at all. There is a more noticeable delay if you were to email from Gmail into that system, but even still, we haven't observed anything longer than about 5 minutes. And we always publish the worst case scenario to our students. So we tell them to expect maybe up to a 5-minute delay. We don't want them to stand in front of a printer, send an email, and then immediately try to release. And it sends you a notification back as soon as it's processed the job and it's ready to release. So again, the user education piece is kind of key. You tell them you wait for that email, then you're good to do it. But there's not any delay that we consider a major issue. Anyone else? All right, like I say, if you have any other questions, certainly track me down. Let's see, this is a product we definitely at Dartmouth are stand behinding. It's turned out to be a lot more than even what we thought it was going to be when we first rolled it out. One of our better, more successful product rollouts in quite some time, especially, like I said, the key win was that we didn't have to interrupt the services we were already providing really to roll this out. So in terms of change control or risk management, it's very negligible. Thank you.